My name is Sophie Wiegescheur. I'm in my third year of the study Art and Technology. For the project Creative Technologies, I've chosen to create a website which retrieves your current location and gives you clothing advice based on the local weather. I got inspired to make this because every morning I get up and spend too much time thinking about what I'm going to wear and whether it won't be too cold or too hot. I've decided to do this using APIs, in combination with JavaScript, HTML, and JSON. API stands for Application Programming Interface. An API is a set of functions or procedures used by computer programs to access operating system services, software libraries, or other systems. When sending an API request, you also need to include your API key. It's used to identify the calling program, its developer, or its user to the website. Simply put, the API is the messenger that takes requests and tells the system what you want to do, and then returns the response back to you. The first API I used was during the third development step. Google Maps JavaScript API. It allows you to show a map on the website and display your current location. The code center you see here makes sure that the map is centered right on the current coordinates. InfoWindow.setContent makes sure that the current coordinates are placed inside the info window. During my fifth development step, I use the OpenWeatherMap API. I send my coordinates in the API request and receive an API response in the form of my local weather forecast. During my seventh development step, I found a code which consists of both JavaScript and HTML. Using the JavaScript, I extract the information from the API response, which is in JSON. In the JSON we get back from the API call, the temperature can be found inside the main parameter. Weather, as opposed to the main parameter, can have multiple weather descriptions and is therefore an array. Underneath, you can see they're creating an ID with the name of the variable, and into the HTML they implement the extracted variable. In another part of the code, they make a div in which they put a list. In this list, they attach the ID to the item on the list, which then translates to you seeing the variable being displayed in a list on the website. During my eighth development step, I wanted to find out how to give clothing advice based on the weather. The ID codes of clouds range from 801 to 805. So in order for the condition to be true, the ID has to be bigger than 800 and smaller than 806. Both conditions have to be true. When the condition is true, advice will have the value wear jacket. This value will be implemented in the paragraph with the ID demo. I did the same for rain, snow, and a clear sky. Development step 9. Showing the clothing advice on the website with the use of images. With the help of this piece of code, I can have the clothing advice change whenever the weather does. Every different type of weather has their own icon that will be displayed on the website whenever the conditions of their if statements are true. The third API I used is the Location IQ Reverse Geolocation API. During my 11th development step, I, with the use of the Location IQ Reverse Geolocation API, turned my coordinates into an address, which I can now display on the website. During my development step 10, I wanted to look for ways to make my website look better using CSS. One of the things I did was find a fun background, but seeing as I was very busy, it made my text not that readable. So I decided to put the text inside a box. This code changes the opacity of the diff's background without affecting the content of the diff. The first 3 numbers are the red, green and blue values for the background, and the fourth is the alpha channel value, which does the same as the opacity value does. In order to show all the information as clearly as possible, I use this code to make 3 columns. Because I want the title to span all the columns, I use this code. Looking back at my project, I've learned a lot about JSON, HTML, JavaScript, and APIs, and I really enjoyed making this. And if you have any other questions, you can always visit my blog.